7.4, two-way tables. Got a little bit of vocabulary for you. Copy that down real quick. Okay, a two-way table is a useful way to organize data given by two variables. Joint relative frequency is the values in each category divided by the total number of values. The marginal relative frequency is found by adding the joint relative frequencies for each row and column. So to find the marginal relative frequency, you already have to have the joint relative frequency. I'm going to show you how to find all of that right now. So here's our example. You ask 20 children and adults whether they liked broccoli, and then you recorded the data in a two-way table. So here is the results of your survey, and you found that you have all this data. So what we're going to do is we're going to construct a new table. So we're going to make a new table. What I'm going to do is I'm going to color code it, and I don't know if you want to do this in your notes or not. You don't have to. It's not required. But what we're going to do is we're going to find the joint relative frequency and the marginal relative frequency. What I'm going to do is to help us keep track of which is which, I'm going to do the joint relative frequency in orange, and I'm going to do the marginal relative frequency in purple to help you keep track. So what you do is we're going to make a new table. Now, the labels of your new table still need to have children and adults and yes and no. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make a new table. Now, you're going to need to keep room for a third row and a third column, but otherwise it's going to look similar to this, but we're going to have different numbers here. So leave room for a similar looking table, just with an extra column and an extra row. So let's go ahead and we'll make a new table. But we still have a row named children, a row with adults. We still have a column that has yes, a column that has no. But notice I'm leaving room for a third column and a third row. Okay? To find the joint relative frequency, all you do is you first need to find out how many total people do you have, or total of whatever things you're looking at. In this case, people. So your n value is 20, and all you do is for all four of these boxes right here, you're gonna figure out what percentage of the whole this takes up. So, for example, what I mean is, this box 3 corresponds to this box. I divide 3 by 20 and put that decimal here. So, get my calculator out, do 3 divided by 20, and I get 0.15. So this is one of our joint relative frequencies. Let's go ahead and do it again. We're going to do 7 over the whole, which is 20. 7 divided by 20 is 0.35. Let's keep going. 8 divided by 20 is 0.4. And 2 divided by 20 is 0.1. If you want to check to see if you did it all right, all four of these should add up to 1 because they make up they make up the whole survey. So they should make 100% or 1. And let's just go ahead and just double check that real quick. So 0.35 plus 0.15 plus 0.4 plus 0.1, and it does add up to 1. If they didn't add up to 1, these 4 in the middle, you did something wrong somewhere. All right, so that's the joint relative frequency. It's pretty easy. And let's go ahead and find a marginal relative frequency. And all you do to find a marginal relative frequency is just add up every row and column. It's that simple. 0.15 plus 0.35, that's 0.5. 0.4 plus 0.1 is also 0.5. And then let's do each row. So 0.15 plus 0.4 is 0.55. And 0.35 plus 0.1 is 0.45. Again, everything, this column should add up to 1, and this row should add up to 1, and you can see that they add up to 1 or 1.0. And so that's how you create a table with your joint relative frequencies and your marginal relative frequencies. So it's easy to see, the reason why we do this is easy to see that children saying no was the most common occurrence, with adults saying yes was the second most common, then children saying yes was the third most common, and so on. And it gives you a good idea. And there's something else we can do with this, is we can find probabilities based off this table. So I'm going to go to the next page if you want to go ahead and copy this real quick. Okay, so what we see here is we're going to, from the frequencies, and I'm talking about from the table that we just drew, the new table that we just drew, we're going to find the following probabilities. So part A, this says probability that you select a child at random. Well, if we look at our table here, the new one that we constructed, the total amount of children as a decimal is 0.55, and that's our answer, because that's how many were in the row of children. Let's find the probability of an adult not liking broccoli. So I abbreviated P of no. Well, if we look at our table, no is a column, and the marginal relative frequency is 0.5. So those are pretty easy. And you can do the rest of it. It's pretty easy. Now these ones require a little more thought, and so let me show you how to think about it. This says the probability, and remember we're selecting at random, but the probability of selecting an adult given that they don't like broccoli. The way to do this is we go to our table, and because we're saying given that they don't like broccoli, we need to focus on this column right here, the no column. Now, given that they don't like broccoli, what's the probability that they're an adult? So if I'm looking at this column, which of these two numbers is an adult? It's 0.1. So I looked at this column, and then I looked at that row, and it's 0.1. What's the probability that they don't like broccoli given that they're a child? Well, all the children are right here, and we wanted what? We want to know, so here's where they intersect. So it's 0.4, and that's it. So that's marginal and joint relative frequencies, and I didn't make a joke. I'm sorry. Get some shout outs to Cynthia, Chico Suela, and to Carrie from Daniela. She said to keep doing your work. And okay, I'm done.